So now our situation, we have a pump that's going over a leaf again. We still have a spool shifted. We have a double acting cylinder that is completely extended and not a stroke. So if we advance this again, the next step will be to change anything. We need our directional valve to change positions. So if I advance it a frame, now this went back to the center position. And if you recall, in our center position, A and B go to T and P is blocked. So now we're back at center. And when that happened, if you look at this, suddenly the red went to the blue again. See, if I go back a frame, when this was shifted over, this was exposed to pump pressure. Now, when I shift the spool, all of a sudden A is going to be vented, if you will, back to tank, but P is still going to be at the high pressure. So at this point, although we've shifted our spool back to center, still all of our pump flow is going to be going over relief because there's nowhere else for this pump flow to go. Okay, so the next frame is actually a spool shift to the other direction. So this is to the right. So this correlates with this spool position, P crossing over to B, A crossing over to T. P is crossed over to B. See, this spool came off its lane to open up that little bit of a flow path right there. There will be a decent pressure drop across the spool depending on the design. There's a lot of factors that affect that. But for now, the takeaway is that a flow path opened from P to B, and now you're putting flow into port 2 of the counterbalance valve. So P to B, if we go back to the schematic, now you're putting flow into port 2 of the counterbalance valve. Now this, when you're moving flow this way, 2 can go to 1 right around that free flow check valve. We talked about that in part 1 of the tutorial. So flow from B to port 2 is going to go right around this free flow check and into the rod end. Same thing here. It's going to go right around here from B to 2. Over it, it's going to make this free flow check, pop it, come off its seat, and it's going to come right over to port 1 and into the rod end. So I'll advance it a frame. If I go back a frame, you can see this pop it. It's blocking the path right there. But now, if I advance it a frame, you can see it move. See? Back and forward. And now if I keep advancing, what's going to happen? Well, our relief valve closed off again, and now our cylinder is going to retract. So this is what I would call a steady state position. I'm advancing it frame by frame, but our counterbalance valves, the flow path is open from 2 to 1 via that check, and oil in the piston end of the cylinder has an easy path back to tank. One area I don't want confusion. It seems like that this path here, the blue and the red, intersect, but they don't. You have to envision these being 2 different drill paths and not intersecting each other. So the red P does not intersect with the blue tank flow there. So if I keep advancing, it takes us back to the beginning of the animation where we started with the spool in neutral. So I hope that was educational. I hope that this made sense and that it helps you better correlate the schematic depictions to the real world components. These are somewhat simplified components, but they really do help you grasp the concepts of how these valves move and cylinders move in the real world. So thanks for tuning in.